Yo, what is up, everybody? I want to make a quick guide and kind of some tips for my Demon Hunter, my Havoc Demon Hunter spec. It's been so much fun, been kind of playing around with it as an alt. I know a lot of people are turning over to Demon Hunter or want to try it out, so I thought I'd just kind of make a beginner guide, kind of covering the talents, the Covenant I chose, Conduit stuff, maybe just some general tips and all that jazz for this spec. It is so much fun, and it's easy to play. And I think, honestly, there's a little bit more depth to it now, running the Sinful brand build that I've been doing with Venthyr. But yeah, let's just jump right into it. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below. And if you like the video, like the video. First thing I want to cover is the Covenant that I chose. I chose Venthyr. I think it's a really good option. I also think Night Fae has a really good build as well, but I've been having so much fun with Sinful brand, and it does a ton of your damage. Right here, I did this this key. I can't remember what level of key it was. Maybe a 14, 15, something like that. So kind of a low key, but my Sinful brand did a majority of my damage. It was crazy. And Glaive Tempest. So I went with Venthyr. I think it's just really good for single target, good for Mythic Plus and raids. I would highly suggest it. I did go Naja. I don't have the other two, or not. I don't even know how you say her name. Naja, not. I have no clue. I went her. The other two I don't have unlocked at all. But these are the conduits I kind of ran. I'll kind of briefly just go over them. So right here, I mean, reduce the cooldown of Simple Brand by 8 seconds. That's huge, especially since it's a majority of your damage. The two other conduits I think that give you a lot of benefit, a lot of bang for your buck is Growing Inferno. Immolation Aura's damage increases by 20% each time it deals damage. That's awesome. And then Chaos Strike is a 10% chance to trigger a second Chaos Strike. Honestly, that's really helpful, especially if you're doing like raiding or something like that, or just on a tyrannical week for bosses. I still think it was a decent amount of my damage there, and probably a majority of that was to bosses. But yeah, I would definitely run those. I went Fellfire Haste here. Fell Rush increased your movement speed by 15% for 8 seconds. Cooldown of Blur is reduced by 14 seconds. I think that's just generally helpful. A lot of people don't use Blur, I think, as much as they could, and it could save your life so much. It's kind of ridiculous. And then Demonic Wards reduces magic damage taken by an additional 9%. This is huge. A lot of people don't really realize how much just damage overall that this reduces for you, but it's really big. Yeah, so these are kind of my talents. You can kind of play around with them as much as you want. I think that these are... I think I saw some people running Dancing with the Fate. I do believe that plays better with the Night Fae build than the Venthyr build. But I would try these out, see if you like, and maybe play around with it a little bit. But I would highly recommend, this one, and then Growing Inferno, and especially if you're doing Venthyr, yeah, running this too, and this is just so good. Just try it out. Try it out and tell me what you think. As for talents, I went with these. There's another build I think that is really viable with this, and I think it's on Wowhead, so you can check it out if you wanted to. And I think the general one that most people run is this right here. Oh, I can't change it right now, but this is what I run for Raid and for Mythic Plus dungeons. It works fantastic for either one. I was a little geared in this. I'm only, let's see, 259, 260. The other people were running with me 10, 15 animals above me or something like that. And it did a pretty good job, and this is the build I ran with. A lot of people run Unbound Chaos instead of Glaive Tempest. So I get why it's really good and increases your next Fell Rush by 500% the damage, but I dislike using Fell Rush as a damage ability so much. I think it doesn't fit in the playstyle for me. I'd rather stay kind of stationary a little bit. I'm still moving around, obviously, with Eye-Beam, Blade Dance, and Glaive Tempest. You have a ton of mobility already, but just having to use a Fell Rush to do damage to people, for me, I don't know. I just don't like the play style, but if you wanted to try it out, that's the standard build is Blind Fury, Insatiable Hunger, Unbound Chaos, Netherwalk, Cycle of Hatred, Fell Eruption. This is amazing for Mythic Plus, by the way. So good. And then Demonic, which you just should use this all the time. This is a mandatory talent. I think it just, it's just so good. Every time Eye-Beam causes you to enter a demon form for 6 seconds after it finishes dealing damage, that's fantastic. And Cycle of Hatred. When Chaos Strike refunds Fury, it also reduces the cooldown of Eye-Beam by 3 seconds. Really good, especially when I talk about Legendaries here in a minute. Just fantastic. But Glaive Tempest, it's off a 17-second cooldown. It does a lot of my damage here. 1.6 million. We played another Havoc Demon Hunter. Played with another Havoc Demon Hunter. This is my buddy Drago. Shout out to him. He's been playing Night Fade for a long time, using the Fel Rush build, Immolation Aura. He does a great job. Death Sweep, obviously. So there's a big difference in our damages, obviously, from that. And he does a great job. And that build is very viable. I like Venthyr. I like how it plays. Feels fantastic. Anyways, yeah, so I tried out these talents. Really good build. If you want to check out the Wowhead one, there's another one that's just, it's fantastic. So I highly recommend that. As for Legendary, I think the #1 Legendary, I think with this build specifically, is Collective Anguish. Casting Eye Beam summons an allied Vengeance Demon Hunter, cast Fel Devastation. It's very consistent and reliable, which I think is why I like it so much. But there's actually a really fun one that I was using before, which was Dark Glare Medallion. Eye Beam has a 40% chance to not incur its cooldown and refund 30 Fury. So this is so much fun. It has the potential to have an enormous amount of uptime on your Sinful brand. If you didn't already know what Sinful brand does, it's right there. And then activating Metamorphosis applies Sinful brand to all nearby enemies. So basically what you're going to want to do in a general rule of thumb with using this build is, if you, let's just say if we apply Sinful brand to something, if I put Eye Beam on it, it increases that for how long, right? So if I was using the other Legendary here, if I was using Dark Glare Medallion, I could use Eye Beam, not incur a cooldown, use it again, and that would bump up to probably another 15 seconds there. So we have 35 seconds of uptime. And then the next time would be 50 seconds of uptime, which is just awesome. Yeah, sorry about that. My landlord is doing some work outside, if you guys can hear that in the video. But then another big thing, and it's so loud, oh my goodness, is right here. Sinful brand mentions activating Metamorphosis, apply Sinful brand to all nearby enemies. So when you do that, sorry, okay, so with that, so right here, a good way to pull like a mob or something like that, you get a big mob, is if you use Metamorphosis. I just apply Sinful brand to everything, and then I could Eye Beam on them, and it would increase the Sinful brand on all of those enemies. You know, popping Glaive Tempest and then Death Sweep, and then you're just using kind of Chaos Streak, which is just awesome. Right there, it's very easy to do a lot of damage, and obviously I missed one of those targets with the Sinful brand, but it is just a really good build. It's consistent damage. You have Sinful brand up every 37 seconds, which is just awesome. But another big thing is, obviously you want to have your 2 legendaries. So I would recommend Collective Anguish for that, for legendary. But if you wanted to, kind of a more RNG build, which is super fun, I'd use Dark Glare Medallion. The 4 set is awesome. Increases Death Sweep and Annihilation damage by 20%, which is, you know, Chaos Strike. So this is your main single target ability, but also hits, you know, people around them. But the biggest one here is Metamorphosis duration is increased by 6 seconds. That's huge. Every 60 Fury you consume reduces the cooldown on Metamorphosis by 1 second. So you can use your Metamorphosis way more often than you could before, and with it being on a 4-minute cooldown, that's crazy. But if you're spinning Fury, right? Every 60 Fury you consume, you get reduced the cooldown. Then you can do this, I mean, a lot more often in Mythic Plus for sure. And sometimes twice in a fight, probably in raids, depending on what difficulty you're doing. I think sometimes on normal, if you have a pretty OP group, you can only get off 1 of these, but most of the time you can get off 2. I don't think you'd ever get off 3, but, you know, maybe. But yeah, so that's kind of a general overview of what I would suggest for that stuff. As for trinkets, I'll throw a couple up on screen right now that I'd recommend. I don't have very good trinkets right now. For me, but I do think Cache of Acquired Treasures from Artificer Zymox from the raid, the newest raid, is really good. I also think the first Sigil from Prototype of War is fantastic from the new raid as well. But there's one that my buddy uses a ton, and I'll show you guys it. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's on Halantris, maybe? Yes. Earthbreaker's Impact. So my buddy here that was here before, my buddy Dragos, he uses this trinket all the time. It does an amazing amount of damage. Causes the ground to quake beneath your feet, dealing 16,000 nature damage split between all nearby enemies over 12 seconds. Damage increase per target hit. In big mobs, this thing will rock, and it is crazy. It is awesome. But I love it. So those trinkets, I would recommend those 3 for sure. I think they offer so much. This is fantastic trinket. I would definitely pick that up if you can. And then also the first sigil. I use this on my my Pharaoh Druid, and it's nasty. Thank you guys so much for checking out the video. You really should try out Havoc Demon Hunter and use the Venthyr build that I've been trying out. Maybe play around with the talents, anything like that, Legendaries. But I had so much fun playing this class. It's been a great alt of mine, and I highly suggest it. Thank you guys for sticking around. Let me know in the comments down below if you like the video or if you don't like it. Any feedback would be great. Greatly appreciated. Even if even some feedback on my gameplay, how I can improve, anything like that. I always welcome it. If you guys like the video, consider hitting that subscribe button. We got more content coming out for Season 4 for sure. That's just around the corner. And I am pumped. And Dragonflight, that's just a little further around the corner later this year. I am so excited. And I hope you guys are too. There'll be more content coming your way for sure. So thank you guys so much. And until next time, peace.